Welcome, everybody. And today I am very excited to have Liz Grady with us. She's a licensed professional counselor and a counseling supervisor. She's nationally certified. She's an NCC. She's also credentialed as a distance counselor. And her practice solely provides online counseling. Um, so Liz Grady, along with two other clinical supervisors, provide online counseling at eSupport. Their website is eSupport Counseling. So here's their website, eSupport Counseling, and you can find out all about their services, their mission, and what they provide. They also work with associate level counselors. So in their e-counseling services, they have associate counselors providing services while under supervision. So we have Heather McKenzie, Joey Tanner, and Elizabeth Grady as the clinical supervisors. So Elizabeth, I'm so glad to have you here with us, and I'm always glad to interview successful online counselors. So to begin, can you just share with us, how you got started and why did you choose to get started in telemental health? Because you were practicing, counseling services in the office for a while before choosing to do online counseling. Is that right?
That's right. Thank you for having me, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the opportunity to share what we're doing. Yeah, I have had a long background in counseling and have been providing counseling for about, I guess, more than 15 years. And I had come from a community agency setting where I had most of my experience, and I had served as a clinical director and served as a licensed professional counselor, and just saw a lot of challenges around the community mental health model where there was a lot of no-shows. There was a lot of, we had a lot of challenges providing enough work for the clinicians that worked there. There wasn't a lot of flexibility, and we often had to hire brand new clinicians and kind of throw them into the fire. And we always wanted to really improve upon that. And then within that, we wanted to reach more people. It's very expensive to open up, new offices and have individual rooms for each new clinician. And so taking all of what I learned over the years in the community mental health and being the director of offices such as that, I really saw the technology several years ago, maybe in 2013 and 2014, and it was improving so fast that I realized it was something that, that we should definitely grab onto for the future. So after talking with some of my colleagues over the years, we decided that we would start a group practice and operate solely online. And that way it provides better access to people who are in need across the state of North Carolina, especially rural areas, and it provides better convenience. And there's so many positives around the video counseling that we weren't able to produce before when we had a large office, that was downtown and only served kind of the population that could get there within a reasonable amount of time. So it's been really, really great. And I think those are some of the reasons that we really fell in love with video counseling and wanted to offer a practice that was online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that must have taken some courage to close your, on-site services just to do online. Did you do it gradually, or
Well,
did you just
actually,
take a leap into it?
it was a little bit of it was a couple of years transition,
Mm-hmm.
because in the midst of these thoughts that I had about the technology, I went back to school and started pursuing a PhD in counseling because I wanted to add on teaching to my career and teach in higher ed someday, because I really enjoy working with the counseling students. And so through that process, I was able to take time, it took a few years, and really researched about online counseling and where the field was and where it was going. And so that allowed me some time to do some planning. So it wasn't kind of a quick thing, but it was over the course of several years. And we did a lot of planning, my partners and I, Heather and Joy. And we really tried to lay out a perfect model that was really going to be well serving people in need.
Yeah, and you're in North Carolina, so you serve, you serve clients who are within the state of North Carolina, and North Carolina seems to be like a very fertile ground for technology and telemental health because there's another large EAP program that has become very large, serving countrywide, but
Yeah.
initiated in North Carolina. And a lot of tech companies
Yeah.
have become, for specifically telemental health, are right there in North Carolina. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, and then you took the distance credentialed counselor course, the 15-hour course, and then you got the credential. And how did you begin getting clients? And did you start to see clients online while still seeing clients in the office and let that build?
Mhm.
Or did you just take a big leap and totally shift the way that you're providing services?
Yeah, we took the telemental health course with you back in 2015, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
and certification, and really started to slowly build from that. And a lot of it was word of mouth, since we didn't have a highly structured business plan that we were going to take over the country or anything. We just kind of
Mm-hmm.
did it organically and kind of some grassroots efforts, and just have been talking to colleagues about this is an option for people who maybe have difficulty getting to the office or they need a specialist and there's not one in the area, and just started to grow it word of mouth. Then we just have done a little bit of marketing here and there, a little bit of advertising, and tried to make our online features top notch as best we can. So the website, we tried to make that as easy access
Mm-hmm.
as possible. And so, yeah, so we just did it a little bit of time, still seeing a few clients face to face. And then over time, some of them would become video clients. And then some of them, then we would maybe fill those slots with video counseling. So,
I see. Yeah, because that's one of the big questions people have is how do they fill up their schedule with online clients? So word of mouth, you would just share with your colleagues, right? Share with other clinicians in your area that you were networked with, what you were providing. Um, and so would you say you get your referrals from other clinicians that you happen to know and that you shared that with? Or did that spread somehow? Or are there main feeding sources for clientele?
yeah, I think it's probably both. We get some referrals from other clinicians. We are on some Facebook groups online and things where people are asking, is there a specialist in this area or that area? And
Mm-hmm.
often we're able to say, yeah, we have a couple of specialists that can serve people in that area
Mm-hmm.
via video counseling. Um, and I think, one of just to answer your question, people always ask, how do I fill up my schedule? It's an interesting marketing challenge, I think, because what you want to do, just like if you had a face-to-face office, is let people know you're there. So when they
Mm-hmm.
do reach out for counseling, they're going to know that that's an option, that the video counseling is an option. So I think that we've been trying to really get the word out there online as well through
Mm-hmm.
our website and through some blogging and through Facebook and through some ads on Google and some things like that, targeting some areas to let people know we're here and it's an
Mm-hmm.
option. They're seeking that. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people will say that they want counseling, but they don't want to get it in the area where they live. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's a draw to video counseling. Some people will look for more of a specialty area. Some people might just like my profile online and say that, maybe that's a fit for me. I like
Mm-hmm.
what that person has to say.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a combination of letting people know in the profession and then reaching the individuals that are going to make the referrals themselves. And then we
Mm-hmm.
also to, we're active in our professional associations and the American Counseling Association. So we presented at various conferences and shared a little bit about what we were doing and some of the research that we've been doing and trying to make sure that we're providing the best, most ethical and technologically savvy, counseling that we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's certainly the case that if you show a specific niche and specialization, that seems to help. So I would imagine that a lot of people that come to you are seeking a specialization, like working on a particular issue and marketing that you specialize in. That probably helps. Do you find that to be the case? Not just that counseling online, but this particular specialization, and yes, it is offered online.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
is,
I
is
think I think that's always helped counselors. Providing finding your what you really enjoy doing, your passion, that area or the population you like to work with, and then letting that be your specialty area. So, for example, one of our supervisors, Heather McKenzie, she provides DBT. And so she's able to provide that to anybody across the state or possibly even other states, depending on what those state laws are. Um, and so it's interesting because people really seek that out from her. And so there may not be a DBT specialist everywhere across the state. And so that's something that she can provide and can make it more convenient for people. So I always
Mm-hmm.
thought that was a good strategy for counselors anyway, especially where we live in Raleigh. It's that triangle area of North Carolina. And there's quite a few licensed professional counselors. There's social workers, marriage and family therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. We have a lot of clinicians in our area. And so I think you really do have to distinguish yourself, just like you would in face-to-face counseling. You have to do that online as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even more so, right? Because there would be maybe even more access to
Yeah.
counselors and clinicians.
Yeah, again, that is your specialty too, online, which sounds like that is, helping with your practice.
Yeah.
So with the specialties, you have each of their profiles, so people will be able to they'll find your profile, and then they'll be able to see your specialties on your profile. Is
Yep.
that right?
That's
So,
right.
like you were saying, Heather McKenzie, DBT, and yeah, it is sometimes really hard to find a qualified DBT clinician. And then in terms of tech savvy, your website is very easy to use, very pretty. It's very, very well done. And so if someone was going to receive services from you in North Carolina, how would they do that? Like, so if I was your first time client and I heard about your services, what would be the process for me?
So part of what you can do, if, for example, if they were looking for a particular clinician to connect with, they can connect with us individually
Mm-hmm.
um, on that page you just showed with our faces.
Mm-hmm.
But the other way, even quicker, is that bubble there, which says, I'm ready to get started now, the one on the right. And that will lead them to like an intake and referral form. And that's a confidential and secure form that we use to collect a little bit of information about what
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps us, just like a referral form, helps us get enough contact information to contact that individual. And then we start with that free consultation. Ask them what are they looking for, and if they feel comfortable with video counseling, and if they are in a safe place, and if they have a confidential and private space um, to connect with us from. And then we want to see if we're a good fit too. Do we have the skill and the expertise to serve their needs? And so we have that free consultation. And then if we decide to move forward, then we'll schedule them for a new intake or assessment session. So that's probably the easiest way. If they're sure about video counseling and they want to move forward, and even if they've said, yeah, I think I want to maybe have counseling from Liz, then they can fill that out right here on this form.
I see. Yep. Yeah, and I like that you use Google Forms.
Yeah.
So you use G Suite, and
Yep.
Google Forms is secure, and so yeah, that's great. So that way, so you probably direct them to this, right?
Yep.
And this is on your site, right? It's not on Google sites. Oh, it's right. Goes right to the Google Doc, right? Yep. And Google's fantastic for healthcare through G Suite. So you'd probably direct them to fill this out so that you can assess and they can assess to see whether that's not a fit, and then have a phone consultation, and then schedule them, and then they would just have a video conferencing session with you.
That's right. And
Is
then
that
we can
right?
answer any questions that they have. Sometimes they want to know if it's something that they can use their smartphone for, or if they can be at work and
Mm-hmm.
have sessions. And so we just talk them through that, asking, if that's the most convenient and private place, and if that's
Mm-hmm.
what's comfortable for them. And then just, once we get started, we go over some more of the precautions about sharing your personal, and protected health information online. And so we try
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that they're as informed as possible about all of our practices and how we would work, very hard to make sure things are secure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, you guys are certainly doing things right, and
that's your
so
training there working for us.
yeah, excellent. And so those, clinicians in North Carolina that are in supervision, receiving supervision from you or one of your colleagues, the other two supervisors, they would be able to receive specialized training in online counseling, how to do it ethically, legally, the clinical skills of using the technology. And you also have a blog, a very nice looking blog, so people could go here for articles.
Yeah.
Have you found any challenges working with clients online and had like solutions? So like, have you had clients concerned about receiving online counseling or struggle with the technology, or kind of hold back from beginning counseling because of concerns, and were there ways that you overcame that or help overcome that?
I think so far it's been people that have agreed to have video counseling seem to be more comfortable maybe with technology. And
Mm-hmm.
so once we run through practices and once, I talk about the instructions for how to connect online. And then I always use their telephone as a backup. And sometimes we might even get on the phone while they're logging in for the first time, those kind of things, just walking them through it. It seems to establish a comfortability for them
Mm-hmm.
where, um, by the second or third time that we do it, it seems to be really comfortable, and it's not something that we generally have a lot of interruptions or things with. Sometimes, like with a lot of streaming video, it stalls, or the audio will be just ahead of the video or something. But usually it's only for a couple of seconds. And so I've had
Mm-hmm.
actually very good experiences with video counseling so
Mm-hmm.
far. I haven't really experienced anybody who said that they didn't like it or didn't feel comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of that is making sure that you're doing a lot of informed consent with the individuals, because you want to prepare them for times like that. Like you always help counselors understand,
Mm-hmm.
preparing people ahead of time. What do we do if the video drops out, and how will we contact each other? Or what if one person's running late? Or what if they're trying to use a different device that day? So we
Mm-hmm.
just try to think about all that, thoroughly ahead of time. And then um, I think just being supportive and flexible too helps.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, and do you go through that, clinical intake over the phone before their video conferencing session or during the first session?
Usually we talk on the phone first. That's usually our first contact is by phone. So we can do
Mm-hmm.
that for the consultation. And so actually the first time that we do the intake and assessment, that's by video. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have to gather any additional information by phone, or if we gather any additional information from, say, a supporting provider or a colleague for that individual to support that client, we might do that. But yeah, usually we do it
Mm-hmm.
via video on the very first session.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like your screening for fit process and preparing the client. Find that a lot of times organizations, especially a lot of big organizations, seem to not do this very well. People call, they just want an appointment. Sure, we'll put you in the schedule. Versus actually screening. Are they a fit for me? Am I a fit for them? And then going through the intake process to let them know how things are going to work, backup plans, address any concerns, and stuff like that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. And that allows
yeah.
us we know, the counselors that work with us, our team, their skills. And so if we find that the client is looking for a lot of parenting skills, and maybe they're a blended family, then I might say, Joy's actually a really good fit for that. She's very skilled in that area. She's an excellent clinician. She works with a lot of parents and families. And maybe, we'll have you have an appointment with her. And so that helps too, because I can make sure that we're getting the person to the right individual with the right skill set. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where our licensed professional counselor associates come in too, because they're able to get practice hours
Mm-hmm.
under supervision with us. And so that's kind of part of our whole business model, was to be able to provide that for the counselor
Mm-hmm.
associates,
Mm-hmm.
and also help them hone their skills and their expertise in specialty areas as well.
Mm-hmm. And if you were to give advice to someone who is looking for online counseling, can you give a couple ideas of what they ought to look for in the clinician when making that choice?
Yeah, I mean, I think that showing that, well, finding a clinician that's had training in the area, or the
Mm-hmm.
certification like the distance credential or the board certified telemental health. I do think those things are important because that shows that the person has had some training, has really thought through the processes. Um, because I'm still hearing quite a bit how counselors will say, and other clinicians will say, that whenever they need to, they just start video with the client if there's a
Uh, yeah.
bad weather day or something like that. And sometimes
Hmm.
they even ask me, they say, Liz, how do you do it? You just, if you need to, you just get on, FaceTime or whatever with the,
Hmm.
and I said, no, actually there's a lot you need to think through to make
Hmm.
sure that you're avoiding, ethical dilemmas or risks to the client's information or privacy. So I think that looking for somebody who's had training is important. Looking for somebody who seems to have systems in place for confidentiality and privacy are important. And then certainly always when you're picking counselors, I always encourage people to shop around. Counselors have a lot of different personalities. Some maybe are more directive, some are more laid back, some are more enthusiastic and friendly. And so, I always encourage people to really, if you see somebody and you talk to them and it sounds like somebody you want to open up to, try it.
Hmm.
And if you don't get a good feeling, then, I think that it's important to look around because it really is, as you know, it's a really highly personalized relationship.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really want,
I find the phone call to be very helpful.
yeah,
Like actually, even if it's just for like a minute, getting a sense of where what the person's like, are they friendly or are they kind of like business? Okay. Get to the point kind of thing. Or are
and
they,
you
do
want
you
to like
connect with them, right? Do you connect with them? And as humans, we seem to be pretty good at determining that fairly quickly, whether or not we're likely going to connect with someone or not.
it.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, and
that
you
helps.
might be the kind of person that likes the business. So let's get started.
Right.
And so that might be a good fit for some people, and other people might want to have some more warm fuzzies first, or So I
Yeah.
always encourage people if they don't feel like they're having a good connection with their counselor to look around because
And it's probably very similar also for supervisees. So, any advice? What should a supervisee look for in a supervisor for their clinical hours?
well, I think if they know the practice area that they want to get more skills in. So, for example, if they want
Hmm.
to learn more about online counseling, or if they want to learn more about um, substance abuse, working with people that have substance abuse or addictions,
Hmm.
to find a supervisor that has experience in those areas, I find that
Hmm.
that's really helpful because that supervisor, probably most supervisors supervise from their own experience, right? So if you
Hmm.
have a lot of experience in working with people with severe and persistent mental health needs, then you're probably going to see a lot of that in the supervisee's work. You might give them some more techniques and strategies that have to do with that population. So I think part of it is looking at the supervisor's experience and seeing
Hmm.
if that's a good fit. And then the other part is, yeah, the personality part. Do you feel like you work together well? Do you feel like it's a good connection? And then I think the third thing the supervisees look for are the fees. And
Right.
it's something that they feel like is reasonable for supervision. I know that there's
Especially when you're not fully working yet. Right.
yes, I can remember that
Yeah.
challenge in my own seeking my own supervision, and luckily I
Yeah.
had a wonderful supervisor.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, thank you very much. This has been very helpful. And for those of you watching, looking for an online counselor in the state of North Carolina or a clinical supervisor, highly recommend that you take a look at eSupport. So again, it's eSupportCounseling.com. So thank you very much and really appreciate your time.
Yep,
And
thank you.
we'll talk soon. Yes. Bye bye for now.
Bye.